This is the Troll Patrol. Live. With Justin Freakin.
If you will look over my shoulder, there's a socks in a box. There's a Smokey right next to him looking at him. You can kind of see the top of Smokey's head. Smokey knew I was talking about him. Over here, you want to say hey? They just ate. They just got their tummies full. So I went over to pour my tea. I had to pour them some food. Good evening, preacher guy. How are you, my friend? You know, I always forget I'm a preacher guy. I'm somewhat of a preacher guy myself. I am a minister at the Universal Life Church. Smokey's still just sitting right there. I don't know what he's even doing. Chilling over next to the wall. I was gonna get a... And like you're gonna see some changes here in the next few weeks. Like, you move into a new place, and sometimes the fee to turn on your electricity and shit is overwhelming. It takes you a couple months to get caught up on things. So I was gonna get a table, like, you know, like one of those high tables with, like, you know, some. It's not a high chair. A high chair is for a kid. What you call those? Not a bar stool, but like a bar chair kind of deal, like a little nook, breakfast nook kind of deal. That was what I was thinking of putting there, but for the purposes of the show, perhaps I should put a cat tree there. Now, Curiouser has thrown out the idea of putting up cat shelves so that you would see the cats just climb around in the background during the show. I kind of like that idea. I'm gonna get some beads to go on that door. Probably gonna get another right wingers or morons flag put over there so it's in the background. I don't know. I don't even know that I'm going to stay with this setup. I don't know that I like this. And I'm trying to talk fucking Sparkles into going to Wyoming anyway. This apartment could be very temporary, so do I really want to? And be like, I get a breakfast nook table for the corner, but then I don't need it when we move to Wyoming Q1 of next year. So I don't know. I may not even get any kind of furniture or anything for this apartment, and we'll just wait until, like, we buy a house or something with Sparkles. What up, bitches? Welcome. Not literal bitches, figurative bitches. Always hate it. I forget to move the dishwashing liquid on my sink. I hate it being in the camera shot there. It's on the back of my sink, but I don't like that it's sitting there and it's in the shot. But that's the useful spot for it, because on the other side of the counter is the kitchen sink. I've never had a counter before. This is the first time. I am going to get some bar stools, probably some real cheap ones. Like, find some on Facebook Marketplace, $50. Get a couple of bar stools. But I like the idea of the table over there. I would totally, he's in the box now. I would sit and eat at the table, and then I can see my giant ass TV. That's one of the things, like, if I'm over in the kitchen, I can see the fucking TV. I was watching, Olay and, Mike and, Lance talk about the whole Anna Kasparian thing. Battle of Possum. Good evening. Breadline. I do not think I think I acknowledged you and responded to you, but I don't think I told you good evening. I'm so glad to see you. Libertad. Hello, my friend. Coming up with better titles for my streams than I come up with, to be honest with you. But judging by tonight's title, you might assume that we're going to talk about cocaine. Cocaine found inside the White House. Battle of Possum, I sent you the picture of the thumbnail of Joe Biden holding the bag of cocaine. I don't know if you were aware that that happened. Perhaps you are. Perhaps you're aware that they found cocaine in the White House. I don't consider it a big deal. Ben Shapiro posted about it earlier today, to which I said, I guarantee there are people in the offices of the Daily Wire doing cocaine. So yeah, it was like the day before July 4th. A staffer, instead of, there's like a place where you put your phone when you come into like secure areas, and apparently they put in their cocaine instead of their phone. That was the story that I heard. It looks like I've been doing cocaine. I've been rubbing my nose. I assure you, I have not. Just like allergies or some shit. Here's your meme of the day. Signing up for Threads, be like, I don't care if Zuckerberg wins. I just need Elon to lose. Wait, there was it India or Indonesia, Malaysia? I don't even remember where it was. It's kind of racist of me, just throwing out Asian countries. It was one of those countries. Some people ate some tainted food. I think 3 people died. They got anthrax. I think like 3 people died. 80 were hospitalized or some shit. You would think that's the kind of story I would have put on the list for the show tonight. It was Indonesia. But for some reason, I forgot all about it. It did not make my list. 3 dead and 93 infected after a reported anthrax outbreak in Indonesia. Anthrax is a serious infectious disease that occurs naturally in soil and commonly affects domestic and wild animals. Oof. Nix. Good evening. Yeah, Libertad bringing up the anthrax, and that reminded me of that story. God damn it. I'm fucking everything up over here. I got way too many windows open. I'm opening programs I don't need open right now. We do not need Adobe Character Animator at the moment. Well, we good, but I tried to keep it light tonight. There are, first of all, we might have to go ahead and get this out of the way so that we can keep it on the lighter side tonight. Other than talk about, like, you know, the possibility of nuclear war with Ukraine, we're going to have to get into that. But you'll remember we had, was it last night? Or was it night before? It might have been last night. We found out about a young man who had been missing for 8 years, was found alive. He had been at his mother's house for 8 years. And which really, like, you know, I'm cracking jokes and everything. And I'm like, well, how can he be missing for 8 years if he's at his mom's house? Well, the story is fucking tragic. So we covered it the other night. I'll give you the update. I will give you the answer if you so want it. But in all honesty, you probably don't want to know. So I'll let the chat decide on that one. If I've piqued your interest and you want to know where the young man went to for 8 years, I'll tell you. I don't wanna. Is Prigozhin in Russia? President of Belarus claims that he is not in Belarus. which is kind of interesting if you've been keeping up with what was going on. Prigozhin, of course, the head of the Wagner forces, said it right this time after calling it Wagner multiple times. The Wagner forces, that, would you call it a mutiny? It was a coup that didn't really materialize. More of a mutiny. Mutiny might be the right word. We're going to go into the possibility of nuclear disaster. Ukraine claiming heavily that Russia may do something to attack the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Always fuck it up. Trump's valet, Walt Not. I always fuck his name up too. Walt Not. Walt Nut. Trump's valet, Walt Nut, pleaded not guilty earlier today. I've got fantastic video. I cannot wait to watch this. I didn't watch it earlier. This is the kind of shit I live for. Mike Pence was confronted by an angry MAGA voter in Iowa. Marianne Williamson, the Democratic candidate in the presidential primary, her entire South Carolina team has quit on her. Now, that may not seem like a very big deal until you realize that South Carolina is the first stop in the Democratic primaries. So this is a very important state if you're running for president. So her South Carolina team quitting on her is kind of a big fucking deal. Josh Hawley has tweeted out, last night we covered the GOP tweeting out the wrong flag for July 4th. Josh Hawley tweeted out a fake founding father quote. How many times do I have to say it? Oh, Walnut. Oh, Walnut. Walnut, I think is what it is. Marjorie Taylor Greene is no longer a member of the Freedom Cock. I don't know all the details yet. I don't know if they kicked her out. If she broke up with them, I'm ready for the deets. I've got my tea right here. We're gonna sip the tea. We're gonna find out what happened with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Mark Levin, right-wing blowhard, prolific author, just churning out nonsense fucking books that idiot-ass right-wingers eat up. Target decided they weren't going to carry his book. He threw a hissy fit on his show about it, and then Target gave in. Meanwhile, the right's newest outrage is Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Ben & Jerry's had a tweet that is 100% historically accurate. It should be one of the most non-controversial statements, but it has set the right completely off. So, in the political group I'm in, they were all like, Ben & Jerry has lost $2 billion in the last 2 days. Ha 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 ha. And I'm like, there is no way that is true. Because let me tell you, not a one of you fucking idiots eats Ben & Jerry's ice cream. I'm not even saying I eat Ben & Jerry's ice cream. I don't think I'm the target audience for Ben & Jerry's ice cream. I think someone about 10, 15 years older than me in a much different tax bracket is the target market for Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Bougie liberals eat Ben & Jerry's ice cream. I have a very hard time believing that conservatives boycotting Ben and Jerry's ice cream did jack shit for their business. It's impossible. Fucking idiot. They think they're like a majority. They think like they really run everything. They do not have any idea of their actual numbers. Right-wingers have zero self-awareness. Ben Cohen of Ben and Jerry's fame, arrested at a protest over Julian Assange. Also, protester facing jail time, Greta Thunberg. Could face up to 6 months, apparently. I'm still... I originally thought this NBA player... I thought it was him that slapped the shit out of Britney Spears, but apparently it was not the NBA player. It was a security guard of an NBA player, some Victor Orban or some shit. I don't remember his name. But apparently his security guard slapped the shit out of Britney Spears. Leave Britney alone. All that and more tonight on the Troll Patrol Live. Good evening. I am not high enough for this shit. BJ's and Ben and Jerry's. I'm gonna have to pack another one. I think I cashed that motherfucker out. Good evening. I might be able to take my sunglasses off now. The sun shines directly in that window, and it sucks. I can't even watch TV. I can't play video games. I almost bought blackout curtains. I was in the dollar store. The dollar store. Oh, that sounded ableist of me. I should not have done that. I was making fun of myself, not some random voice mocking somebody with a disability. It's possible I've got some kind of speech impediment. I fuck a lot of words up, that's for sure. Be wild to go through all this time being a radio personality and a broadcaster and a voiceover artist. Find out you have a speech impediment. I'm in good company.
Come on, man.
If a man with a stutter can become president, then my dreams can come true too. Smoking crack with Mike Lindell.
I was on crack.
Right. Well,
I fuck a lot of words up all the time. I'm basically Ricky from the Trailer Park Boys. My dream is not to smoke crack with Mike Lindell. Anyone who watches this show knows for a fact that my dream is to kick authority in the balls.
He's kicking authority in the balls.
Oh, you thought I was... Yeah, I thought I was going to pull out Dan Crenshaw. Oh, I threw you for a loop. No, really. Give me that eye pussy, sir. I'd give anything to piss in Dan Crenshaw's open eye hole. We haven't heard a lot from Dan Crenshaw lately. Did they kick him out of the Freedom Cock? Did I tell you we're going to talk about Josh Hawley tonight? Yeah, Josh Hawley did something stupid. Josh Hawley not a dumb man, though. Josh Hawley, a very intelligent man. Apparently all of his professors in college said that he was one of the brightest students they ever had. So did he know? Did he know that he was tweeting out a fake quote? Possible. Ukraine is saying that Russia could do something to fuck with the nuclear power plant, some form of attack.
The president of Belarus told reporters in Minsk this morning that the leader of the Wagner mercenary group is in Russia and not Belarus, as previously speculated. Evgeny Prigozhin.
Well, we're going the opposite way of this. I was going to do Prigozhin second.
Has not been seen in public since he led a failed mutiny nearly 2 weeks ago. Belarus's leader.
Also, who said I found this guy attractive? What? I'm so confused with what is going on in the comments. Didn't I say this guy is an ugly man? When did I ever go back on that and say that I found him attractive? I don't believe I would plug his hole. No.
There are claims Prigozhin is actually in St. Petersburg.
Redline, have a good stream.
Meanwhile, in Ukraine, at least 4
Hopefully I'll be back over there with you on Twitch soon.
Following a Russian missile strike on an apartment building. That's according to the city's mayor. About 60 apartments and 50 cars were damaged in that strike. CBS News senior foreign correspondent Charlie D'Agata is following the very latest and joins us now.
Good morning, Anne-Marie. Whatever the intended target of that missile barrage, Ukraine's Air Force says the direction was absolutely deliberate, saying they intercepted something like 7 of 10 cruise missiles fired from the Black Sea toward Lviv at around 1 a.m. local time.
Overnight and hundreds of miles from any front line, Russian missiles pierced downtown Lviv, a city considered out of harm's way. But nowhere is out of reach. And it's not just one way. This is a Ukrainian airstrike deep into Russian-held territory. Russia says it struck a residential neighborhood. Ukraine says those secondary explosions prove it was a direct hit on a weapons depot. While directly on the front line, the renewed specter of a nuclear disaster at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. A new satellite image shows the 6 reactor buildings. Both sides accuse each other of plotting to sabotage the Russian-held plant. In the city of Zaporizhzhia itself, government officials have warned residents to prepare for a nuclear emergency.
It looks like normal life. We look at strollers, we look at cute children, but actually...
The Zapatistas was some sort of like paramilitary group in South America or some shit, weren't they? That's what I was getting confused with. Zafarista. I think I got it right that time. Also, I should be way more concerned about the possibility of a nuclear meltdown as opposed to my pronunciation of some town fucking thousands of miles away from me.
Actually, it's just like every second threat of being murdered. It's like every second threat of shelling. Now it's even every second threat of explosion on nuclear power plant.
Having fled Russian-held territory with her son once already, Yulia is ready to flee again. We will listen to the news, and if evacuation is necessary, we'll evacuate, she said.
Also, Richard, good evening.
No other option.
Немає.
Irina says she and her 8-year-old daughter, Alina, are used to living under the threat, saying, I think she will be ready.
Sandinista, yes.
Що буде готова до всього.
But overhearing our conversation, Alina doesn't look so sure she is.
Now, inspectors from the nuclear watchdog IAEA have said they've yet to observe any explosives at the plant, but they're requesting full access in order to look into those claims that Russian troops have rigged explosives on 2 of the reactors. Anne-Marie?
All right, Charlie, a few things to ask you about. I want to start with Wagner's leader, Prigozhin. I'm not actually very surprised that he wouldn't be in Belarus, but do we have sort of any confirmation as to where he is?
It's a good question, Anne-Marie. You know, according to the Belarusian president, he's not in Belarus. Alexander Lukashenko said that he is in St. Petersburg. And there have been some reports that he has gone back to St. Petersburg. That's sort of his hometown in Russia. But there haven't been any images of Prigozhin in the past couple of weeks since he was essentially invited or banished, I guess, to Belarus. And Lukashenko said that he had tried to be a mediator. And of course, there's the question as to what's happened to Wagner itself. According to the Kremlin, anyway, who will not comment on Prigozhin's whereabouts.
I bet he won't.
Wagner is sort of being reabsorbed into Russia and fighting forces in Ukraine. Now, what happens to the rest of Wagner's interests in places like Central African Republic or the Middle East, that remains to be seen. But we were even asking amongst ourselves, where do you think he ended up? I mean, speculation could be where the Wagner group is active in places like Africa and the Middle East, but that's purely speculation.
And I want to follow up on the strike in the city of Lviv. You know, I've heard, I think a mayor said that while Kyiv might be the heart of Ukraine, Lviv is the soul. And I know there's sort of a history of independence there. So I know this is sort of spiritually impactful, but what about strategically?
That's what I was going to say, Richard. He's already flown out a window already. That's where he's at right now. He's already went splat on a sidewalk somewhere. Or poison. Those are the Kremlin's two favorite ways of assassination. I do believe poison and throwing people out of fucking windows.
Impactful.
The big question is, what was the strategic interest in Lviv? Now, just to paint the picture, we cross into Lviv. It's in the far west. It's a very sort of European city. And generally speaking, it has been spared.
What does that mean? They serve baguettes in Lviv?
Attacks in and around Lviv. But, as I said, according to the Ukrainian Air Force, they don't know exactly what the target was, but the intention was there. There are 10 Russian cruise missiles fired from the Black Sea into the Lviv region. So that was intentional. 7 of them.
Ravenpo.
You can see what happens when they're not
evening.
intercepted. So exactly what they were trying to do, aside from these random attacks that sow terror in places like Dnipro, like Zaporizhia, like Kyiv, these residential and civilian areas, certainly it causes terror. But are they military targets?
What the fuck are you talking to open sexually?
You live in sexual anarchy?
I don't even know what that fits in with.
Legitimate military targets? Certainly the people in Ukraine don't think so.
Charlie Daggett, thank you very much, Charlie.
Coming out of the closet? Oh, very European. Oh, okay. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. That is how much of a stoner I am, that I forgot what I had said, the joke that I had made 2 minutes before, less than that. I just assumed that calling a city European, it's a very European city, means it serves baguettes. They have beans for breakfast. Or is that exclusively a UK thing? I don't know. I am not well. My hillbilly ass should probably stay away from making jokes about parts of the world I've never been to and I'm probably too poor to ever go to. Maybe one day, Warlord will fly me up to Britain and go hang out with him. Before we talk about all the bullshit, this is just amazing to me. There are legitimate things to criticize Joe Biden about. And that's what we're getting ready to do. We're getting ready to watch Mehdi Hassan lay into Biden with legitimate criticisms about things that he has not handled well in his administration. Then after that, we're going to go to right-wing media where they're upset about a baggie of cocaine. So I want to make sure that we preface this. We're gonna get our sustenance. We're gonna get our vegetables here. Mehdi Hassan going to give us a valid critique. And then we're gonna hear right-wingers just bitch about nonsense.
defending freedom, upholding universal rights, treating every person with dignity. 15 days after taking his oath of office,
I'll take things that the United States does not do for 1,000, Mehdi.
President Joe Biden stood before the nation and before the world and vowed that these principles would be the pillars of his foreign policy. And to be fair, he started so well. Our Paris Climate Agreement and ended the so-called Muslim ban. He went on to restart negotiations with Iran to try and save the nuclear deal that Trump withdrew from. And he didn't just reverse Trump's
PB girl
policies abroad, he reversed some
I
of
am
Obama's
indeed
too.
bald now.
Remember drone strikes? The Biden administration drastically scaled back the use of drones.
You have not been here in a while, apparently. Guys, when did I shave my head? Was that back in April? When did Trump get arrested? That was always... I'd been saying it for over a year at that point. Should Trump get arrested, I would shave my head. And it happened right here on stream. You can go back and watch this. I want to say it was back in April, whenever Trump's first arrest happened. Now, he's been arrested again since I shaved my head. And he's probably, I'm doing bald boy summer. But he's probably going to be arrested again before the end of the summer in the Georgia investigation. So we'll do bald boy summer and then I'll grow my hair back out because I don't like this. And yes, I realize there's not a lot of hair to grow back in this area. We'll rock the Hulk Hogan when it comes crashing down and it hurts inside. We'll do the horseshoe. I like having long hair. Anyway, Mehdi Hassan is going to take Joe Biden to task over his failures on human rights issues with MBS, with the silence from the administration on the issues in Jenin.
Come on, man.
I'm glad that Mehdi is not letting Shireen Abdul Akleh and that tragedy fade from memory.
Compared to both Obama and Trump.
I have thought about we need to do some freak coin. Get you guys some freak coin. Here's the problem. I tried to do troll NFTs because tell me that the different types of trolls that I do aren't fucking way cooler than any of those Bored Apes. I wanted to do troll NFTs. But unfortunately, I do not own the troll hair. I've actually asked artists. Because I'm not a drawer. I'm not good with the visual arts. I can't draw hair. Steal that shit from others. I'm good with Photoshop. So I need a troll hair that reads as troll hair, that everybody will see and will immediately acknowledge, oh, that's troll hair. But that is dissimilar enough from, I guess, Hasbro. I don't know who owns the troll fucking intellectual property. Could be fucking Disney at this point. They own everything else. But whoever owns it, it has to be legally dissimilar enough so that I can mint my own NFTs and shit. That craze has kind of ended. I missed out on that. Anyway, back to Joe Biden, and fuck you. You ain't doing enough on human rights.
And also, thankfully and finally, tightened the rules around their use, including, as revealed in declassified rules reviewed by the New York Times, a requirement of near certainty that no civilians will be harmed. Biden has even done what 3 presidents before him could not.
Still not a high enough standard for me.
After 2 decades, $2.3 trillion, and an estimated 176,000 deaths, according to the Costs of War Project, this president ended the war in Afghanistan, our longest ever war. despite significant personal political
Like, that doesn't sit right with me. Near certainty that no civilians will be harmed. No, the caution is the other way for me. In a just world, a strike like that would be complete certainty that no civilians would be harmed, and if there is any kind of possibility on the other side that civilians can be harmed, it's a no-go. You're not measuring that right. That's fucked up to me. Why do we not treat life? Oh, well, it's okay to kill a few innocent people if you take out the baddies. That's fucked up.
Especially after the chaotic way in which the withdrawal happened.
After 20 years of war in Afghanistan, I refuse to send another generation of America's sons and daughters to fight a war that should have ended long ago.
It had never been started.
As I say, he started so well, but it's kind of gone downhill since then on the foreign policy front. Nearly 2 years after nuclear talks were renewed, there's still no new deal in place with Iran. Instead, we're getting massive war games in the eastern Mediterranean. And while the president has been steadfast in his support for Ukraine with funding and weapons, while avoiding putting American boots on the ground or supporting the Hawks' call for a no-fly zone, we've yet to see a viable diplomatic strategy to try and secure an end to the war. Nearly 18 months into the conflict, there's no exit strategy in sight. But we're still preparing to sell cluster bombs to Ukraine, which have been banned by much of the rest of the world. Similarly, in Yemen, Biden pledged to end American involvement in, quote, offensive operations in that country's war, waged by a Saudi-led coalition. Hooray! But we still sell the Saudis weapons, what they would call presumably defensive operations. And just a few weeks ago, an analysis in The Intercept argued that the Biden administration was effectively slow-walking peace negotiations between the two sides on the ground. I mean, what else do you expect from an administration that even now, despite all the talk of making the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia a pariah and holding the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman to account,
he went and sucked up to him.
Journalist Jamal Khashoggi, well, it's an administration that still has the Saudis back.
The United States very much appreciates the leadership of Saudi Arabia, not only in hosting this meeting, but for its contributions, constant contributions, and crucial contributions day in, day out to our mission.
That was Secretary of State Antony Blinken on a visit to Saudi Arabia just last month. So much for defending freedom and upholding universal human rights. And not just in Saudi Arabia or Yemen, because nowhere has Joe Biden's foreign policy rhetoric failed to match his actual foreign policy than in Israel and the occupied Palestinian territories. Yes, to be fair, and in a welcome move, the Biden administration did just recently reverse a Trump-era policy allowing for U.S. taxpayers to fund science and technology projects in illegal Israeli West Bank settlements. But overall, the Biden administration has largely continued a doctrine of deference to the Israeli government and its far-right leader and Biden pal, Benjamin Netanyahu. Biden has failed to roll back or undo Trump-era policies like moving the U.S. embassy to Jerusalem or recognizing Israel's illegal annexation of the Golan Heights. Joe Biden's State Department also publicly opposed efforts by Al Jazeera to investigate and prosecute at the International Criminal Court those in the Israeli military responsible for the killing last year of one of their journalists, Shireen Abu Akleh, a Palestinian-American citizen. In fact, Biden himself has said very little about the killing of Shireen Abu Akleh. According to the UN, 2022 was the deadliest year for Palestinians.
That still pisses me off.
And they say
I'm so sorry. I've fucked
even worse. More than 100 Palestinians killed.
I fucked the camera up. I fucked the mic up. Smokey. I love that cat. I love that cat is very affectionate. Cat does not let me get work. There we go. There we go. Cat always up in my lap, trying to pet me. Trying to make me pet him. And also petting on me like...
Including more than 20 children in the occupied West Bank so far in 2023. And this week, Israeli forces launched the largest incursion in decades into the occupied West Bank city of Jenin. That operation happened inside a refugee camp. Yes, a refugee camp where Israel says it targeted militant infrastructure and weapons. At least 12 Palestinians and one Israeli soldier died as a result of the operation. The UN says at least 3 of the Palestinians killed were under the age of 18, with the Palestinian Authority putting that number at 4.
And it shut down the Burger King.
The Authority also says at least 100 people were wounded. And yet the Biden State Department only had this to say in response, quote, "We support Israel's security and right to defend its people against Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and other terrorist groups." It went on to say that it is imperative to take all possible precautions to prevent the loss of civilian lives. An Israeli military spokesperson said that all troops are now out of Jenin, but he warned that, they could return in the future. As occupied Jenin's Palestinian population mourn their dead and work to rebuild their city and their lives, the Biden administration has yet to offer any kind of real and principled defense of their humanity. Again, so much for that promise to secure freedom, dignity, and human life that Biden made on the world stage 2 years ago. But wait, it gets worse.
But wait, there's more.
President Biden announced his intention to nominate Elliott Abrams to the Bipartisan Advisory Commission on Public Diplomacy. Abrams is a veteran of the Ronald Reagan, George W. Bush, and Donald J. Trump administrations. Yes, the super right-wing trifecta. I get that it's supposed to be a bipartisan commission, but it's hard to think of a worse Republican appointee than Elliott Abrams, the archetypal neoconservative war hawk whose record, particularly in South America, has left many nations they're still reeling today. During the Trump presidency, Abrams was the guy pushing for regime change in Venezuela and Iran. And under George W. Bush, he was obviously one of the biggest defenders of the illegal war in Iraq. But none of that compares with what he became notorious for in the Reagan administration as Assistant Secretary of State for Human Rights and Humanitarian Affairs. Yes, you heard that title right. Abrams rallied U.S. support behind Guatemala's military dictator, who was later found guilty of committing genocide against his country's indigenous Mayans. But back in 1983, here's how Abrams defended the U.S. relationship with that general.
If we take the attitude that don't come to us until you're perfect, we're going to walk away from this problem until Guatemala has a perfect human rights record, then we're going to be leaving in the lurch people there who are trying to make progress and are succeeding. He is, I think it's fair now to say, practicing what he preaches. There has been a tremendous change, especially in the attitude of the government towards the Indian population.
A change in attitude. That's a weird way to describe 1,700 murdered Mayans. Abrams also helped throw U.S. support behind El Salvador during its civil war. In 1981, the then military dictatorship, armed and trained by the U.S. by the Reagan administration, killed more than 1,000 people in the El Mozote massacre, the largest mass killing in recent Latin American history. In response, not only did Elliott Abrams dismiss initial media reports of a massacre, but in 1982 he told the Senate Foreign Relations Committee that the reported number of dead was not credible and that the incident was, quote, being significantly misused at the very best by the guerrillas. And if denying massacres and genocides wasn't bad enough, how about being an actual criminal? Yes, Elliott Abrams lied before Congress and later pleaded guilty to 2 counts of withholding information regarding his involvement in the Iran-Contra affair. He received a truly harrowing sentence of 2 years probation, 100 community service hours, and a whopping $50 fine. He was later pardoned, too, by President George H.W. Bush. How nice. And as mentioned, returned to government under Bush Jr. and then Donald Trump. And now it seems Joe Biden, too. Democrats have given a pass to some pretty awful Republicans in recent years on the grounds that those Republicans opposed Trump. But Abrams doesn't even meet that Liz Cheney bar. Now, to be fair, the law requires Biden appoint a Republican, since no more than 4 of the commission's 7 members can be from the same political party. But did it have to be this Republican? The White House told Mother Jones magazine on Wednesday that Republican leadership in Congress put forward Elliott Abrams' name, and that it is standard for a White House to accept the opposition party's recommendations. So then they didn't have to accept the recommendation of a convicted criminal and ally of war criminals. They didn't have to do it. It's a recommendation. They could have ignored it. I mean, Republicans are supposed to honor Democratic spots on congressional committees, but they just chose to flout that standard and get rid of Congresswoman Ilhan Omar for spurious reasons from the Foreign Affairs Committee earlier this year. So much for consistent standards. By the way, on the subject of Ilhan Omar and Elliott Abrams, the Democratic congresswoman happens to be the only person in our politics to have tried to hold Abrams to account back at a Foreign Affairs Committee hearing in 2019.
I fail to understand why members of this committee or the American people should find any testimony that you give today to be truthful.
If I can respond to that.
It wasn't a question. That was not a question. I reserve the right to my time.
It is not right.
That was not a question.
Committee can attack
on February 8th,
who is not permitted to reply.
That was not a question. On February 8th, 1982, you testified before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee about U.S. policy in El Salvador. In that hearing,
hitting the microphone, Smokes. God damn it.
As communist propaganda report about the massacre of El Mozote, in which more than 800 civilians, including children as young as 2 years old, were brutally murdered by U.S. trained troops. You later said that the U.S. policy in El Salvador was a fabulous achievement. Yes or no, do you still think so?
From the day that President Duarte was elected in a free election to this day, El Salvador has been a democracy. That's a fabulous achievement.
What does it say about America and American foreign policy that Ilhan Omar has since been removed from the House Foreign Affairs Committee, while Elliott Abrams is about to start advising the State Department?
Yeah, what the fuck is that shit? Right wing, what are they on about? They don't like cocaine. And here's the thing is, you motherfuckers. There are so many people in their offices, I guarantee it, that are on the fucking coke. Have to be. They have done so much blow in the Fox News studios. Smokey, god damn it. Got hair all over my mouth and shit. There has been so much blow done in the Fox News studios. So they're just like hypocrites.
With new details and a lack of answers following the discovery of cocaine at the White House.
Oh my God, cocaine!
Running DNA and fingerprint tests on the small bag of cocaine, all in an effort to potentially track down the culprit. The White House says the bag of cocaine was found in a heavily traveled area of the West Wing, while the Secret Service tells Fox News that the drug was located in a cubby used by staffers and guests. And while the investigation has been underway for just 4 days, one law enforcement official familiar with the situation is already telling Politico that it is, quote, highly unlikely that a culprit will be found. Really? Meanwhile, President Biden wasn't at the White House when the bag was discovered, but he's still keeping quiet on the whole situation.
Because it's such a non-issue. I do not understand what the obsession is with this. I've barely mentioned, it was like, you read the headline, oh, they found cocaine at the White House. You crack a couple of jokes and you move the fuck on. This is Thursday now. This is 3 or 4 days later. This should not still be, this is an 8 minute and 50 second piece, almost 9 minute piece about cocaine at the White House.
Thank you so much.
A little baggy.
White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre faced a barrage of questions about the cocaine discovery, to which she answered none of them.
So what's preventing a visitor from bringing in anthrax or something that's not magnetic into the White House?
No, look, Ouija, I totally understand the question, but it is under investigation.
Does the White House support the prosecution of this individual?
I'm just not going to get into hypotheticals from here.
Would the president be satisfied with, sir, this is a busy room and We found some cocaine. We don't know who brought it.
So let's see what the Secret Service says, right? How?
It's probably one of the Secret Services.
Who brought illegal drugs into the White House?
The president thinks it's very important to get to the bottom of this.
Kaylee, the only thing to me more patently unacceptable than finding drugs in the White House...
Haley McEnany has probably done some drugs with Don Jr. in the White House.
What are your thoughts on this whole thing?
She brought nothing. I would not have walked to that podium without saying, Secret Service, you have to give me something here. I mean, you read the headline from Politico. Daniel Lippman, the reporter there, got more than the press secretary of the White House. She said she did have some information to add, and it was this: the president and the first lady and their family were not here this weekend. That's not new information. Okay, we've known that. All you have to do is read pool reports or reporting about where the president is over 4th of July weekend. She brought no answers, totally inexcusable. And just to break this down for our viewers, this entrance, it's the basement of West Executive. So this is the road that runs between where most of the White House staff works and the West Wing. It is heavily trafficked. That is true. Press does not go through this door, so that rules out the press. There's a Secret Service agent sitting at the desk right in that door at all times.
And it's probably his.
In front of a Secret Service agent, they rotate. I imagine they would have found this pretty quickly because you have someone staring at the entrance and looking around the room at all times. It's so heavily trafficked that guests come through. My mom's been through there, my sister, my dad, baby Blake, though she didn't bring cocaine in there. Someone did. Not my daughter.
Thanks for clarifying.
But the scariest part, just last point, is the President of the United States walks through this entrance. If the motorcade is on West Exec, which it often is, I've seen President Trump walk through there, and the thought that President Biden could have been within feet of a powdery substance that was unknown.
Joe Biden could have done some cocaine. Like, I've totally done cocaine.
To that point of Kaylee's, I find it difficult to believe, in fact, downright unbelievable, that if it was in a cubby associated with other things, I'm sure it wasn't just by itself Indiana Jones style on top of the pedestal.
Yeah.
So is there no way to ascertain the identity with them saying it's likely unable to be found? I'm sorry. I thought we were supposed to have the highest faith in the law enforcement surrounding the President of the United States. So why
There's no way in hell they don't know who this is. And this goes back to the same BS that we heard when we had the leak out of the Supreme Court. We can't find them. Like, if our government can't figure out who walked in with cocaine into a White House.
And that's the same thing. That's the same thing as with the Supreme Court. Like, the calls coming from inside of the House. Like, you're wanting the Secret Service to find out who it was. Yeah, it's probably the Secret Service. There's a good chance it's a staffer there that the Secret Service likes. They've done coke together. You know, like, that's the way workplaces are. And, like, they probably did rails before they got on the air. Come the fuck on, Ben Ferguson. No, he does not look like a guy who has ever had any fun.
And when they say it's heavily traveled area, I've been there a lot. You've been there a ton. This is not Disney World. The definition of heavily traveled
B-team the 5.
Very small number of people at the White House that would walk through this area. You just can't walk in there. You can't. This is not some like thousands and thousands of people in a corridor all day long. This is not a theme park. It's the White House. There are cameras everywhere.
The press usually has a camera on that entrance.
Correct. And my point is, if they can't figure it out, I guarantee.
We're not even halfway through this. Or we just did reach halfway. I can't do it. I can't do it another 4.5 minutes of that. Jesus. Especially knowing that the next story I've got is also Fox News talking about cocaine. Oh, I might have to go to a different browser. It's Mediaite. I always have a problem with them. I need to just start ripping their I'll start ripping their I'm having a hard time talking tonight. Maybe I did some cocaine. Seriously, every fucking time. Website sucks. Maybe they know. Maybe they know I'm playing a video for my viewers. She was all indignant. She's like, how can you make jokes about cocaine at the White House? I want to make fun of him for being indignant about it. Come the fuck on. Gotta let the ad play out on this browser. Hopefully because I'll let the ad play. Totally a nothing burger. There was absolutely nothing to this. But, you know, of course the right is all like, you know, got their panties and boxers in a wad.
Control the people who control America joins me now. Jason, I'm so glad we get to talk about this. There are so many questions, but what irritates me the most is the demeanor in which the press secretary answers these reporters' questions. Rather than answering all of them, they are very legitimate questions. Cocaine made its way into the White House. Next, it could be anthrax. Okay, these are serious questions, but instead, she's more interested in covering the Bidens and telling us that the Bidens were not home or in the White House at the time that it was discovered. That's completely irrelevant. They were there before it was discovered and after. Hunter Biden was, in fact, at Camp David 2 weekends a row with his father. These are legitimate concerns of the American public.
Oh, absolutely. You're 100% right. Look, my understanding, and I've been in that setting, in that very place multiple times. And Ari Fleischer pointed out last night as well, the former press secretary for President Bush, that it's not just an open cubby where anybody can walk by and do these types of things. It's actually manned by the uniformed division of the Secret Service. You would hand it to a Secret Service officer who would put it in the cubby. I do not believe for even 1 minute that the Secret Service doesn't already know who had access and that they've narrowed it down to just a few people that are going and traveling there. Look, there's an outside perimeter of security. They have badges. Everybody has a badge.
I'm glad we're on cocaine watch.
You don't just get to walk around the West Wing, even if you're staff, without a heavy presence of the Secret Service and a distinct understanding of who's going where and why. And so I think they already know where it is. I think they're trying to wait for the DNA evidence. That doesn't happen in just a half a day or a day. But the Secret Service, I do believe, knows at this point who this person is.
I mean, if you look at the way that they're handling it right off the bat, they're making it seem suspicious. We're just asking questions.
We're just asking questions. They're gonna try to imply that it was Hunter Biden's, right? There's just more proof that like the Biden family, the Biden crime family are reckless, blah 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 blah. I mean, clearly, like the most logical explanation is probably one of the Secret Service agents. Could have been a staffer, probably Secret Service agent.
Reporters that are there in the press pool, right? But then if you look at all the other networks, for example, all the major broadcast networks last night, they all led with the cocaine found at the White House. Not one broadcast mentioned the name Hunter Biden. Now, we're not saying it's Hunter Biden's. We're calling it for what it is. The president's son is a former crack cocaine addict. And he's supposed to be clean. He just was given a slap on the wrist for charges that should have been felony charges. Why? Because he's the...
Oh my God! They are keeping track of other networks' coverage. White House cocaine coverage on the other networks. I'm appalled that they gave it 6 minutes between the three of them. Because it is... You guys have done nothing to convey information to your audience. You've done nothing to make anybody smarter or to educate them or inform them on any topic. You've just been like, why aren't we getting answers about this cocaine?
President's son. So preferential treatment obviously is a very sensitive topic when it comes to his son. And indeed, cocaine was found in an area in the White House where Hunter Biden has visited. So of course that's going to be a question. And there's no room for joking about it. All the other networks making these stupid jokes about it. There's no laughing matter. Crack cocaine addiction is serious. And this is a serious drug that was found in our White House.
Yes, and I heard one of those reporters talking about, well, nobody got hurt. What about the development, transport, and all of the other? I mean, that is just a ridiculous assertion. It's a controlled substance. It's an illegal drug. It's found in the White House, in the West Wing, for goodness sake.
My God, can you... Guys, just imagine the amount of cocaine that has been done in that White House. How, like, fucking... Since cocaine has been a thing in, what, the mid-1800s? I bet people been doing it at that fucking White House, and a lot. I bet they get the good shit at the White House, too. For these babies to get on national TV and be like, oh my God, they found cocaine. It's just hilarious to me.
It is a very serious matter, and they got to be able to show us, the Secret Service, that they mean business.
Joey, good evening. I think that it was probably somebody that had, like, just a little bit for work, you know? You take a little toot at lunch or something. A little afternoon pickup, and they just accidentally put it in the cubby instead of their phone. That's all that happened, I assume. You got some high functioning cokehead, and there's a lot of them. Especially if you've got anybody working in that White House that came from finance, all those fuckers are on cocaine. Coke use is rampant among financiers, Wall Street trader types. So if you got anybody like that at the White House, they very well could have been the culprit. When's the last time Mike Lindell was in the White House?
I was on crack.
Right. Well,
Jason Chaffin's my ass. No, I would not. No, I would not present my ass to Jason Chaffin. What I meant by that at all. Walt Nut or Walt Nada or what? I'm fucking it up real bad. Walt Nut pleaded not guilty today.
Donald Trump's valet pleaded not guilty today to charges he helped the former president hide classified documents from federal agents. Walt Nauta is charged with conspiring with Trump to conceal records he'd taken from the White House. Prosecutors say he moved dozens of classified documents at Trump's direction so they wouldn't be found. The relocation of the boxes was caught on surveillance cameras. Prosecutors also say that Nauta misled the FBI when he told agents he was unaware of any documents being brought to Trump's residence at Mar-a-Lago.
All of them are stupid as fuck. Right wingers are morons. Yeah, I'm an addict. I know what you're doing. And take a little bit with you for the lunch break. This is the part that I've been waiting for. Mike Pence took a question from an angry Trump supporter. And we got the video. This was in Iowa as Mike Pence campaigns to be president, which he never will be.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And you were commenting on the fact that all of these problems belong to Joe Biden, and they do. However, if it wasn't your vote, we would not have Joe Biden in the White House.
Right.
Joe Biden shouldn't be there. And all those wonderful things that you and Trump were doing together
That's not how that works, ma'am.
would be continuing, and this country would be on the right path. Do you ever second guess yourself? That was a constitutional right that you had to send those votes back to the states. It was not like you were going to personally elect him. We all know by the number of votes that were there who won that election.
Joe Biden.
Well, let me speak to that issue.
History for this country.
Yeah, let me speak to the issue because I think it's an issue that continues to be misunderstood. But I know by God's grace I did exactly what the Constitution of the United States required of me that day. I kept my oath. But let me
not for lack of trying, fucker.
Tell you, look, states conduct our elections. You never want to let Washington, D.C. run elections.
And you certainly would never want one person in Washington, D.C. to decide who the President of the United States is going to be.
You were just sending it back to the states.
Ma'am, let me explain it to you. States conduct elections. Iowa, where I live in Indiana. And after there were questions in a half a dozen or so states, we had reviews of the results, 60 different lawsuits that went to the courts. Where there are questions, there's two ways that they're reviewed.
DJ Dub.
Number one is you take those issues
Hell yeah, party.
to the legal process in the state for recounts. Okay? Secondly, you take them to the courts, which we did very aggressively. Now, there were voting irregularities that took place. You had a half a dozen states that changed the rules in the name of COVID, but the courts upheld those changes in virtually every instance, and in every instance where they would have had any impact whatsoever. At the end of the day, when Iowa certified your results and sent them to Washington, D.C., when Indiana certified our results, the Constitution of the United States in Article 2 says the job of the Vice President is to serve as the presiding officer of a joint session where you open and count the votes. Don't take my word for it. Go read the Constitution. Not really. I say this with great affection and respect. The Constitution is very clear. My job was to oversee a session of Congress where objections could be heard, and I made sure that objections would be recognized. So we would hear whatever evidence or whether debate there was, but the Constitution says you open and count the votes, no more, no less. The Constitution affords no authority for the Vice President or anyone else to reject votes or return votes to the states. Never been done before, should never be done in the future. I'm sorry, ma'am, but that's actually what the Constitution says. No Vice President in American history ever asserted the authority that you have been convinced that I had. But I want to tell you, with all due respect, I said when I announced, President Trump was wrong.
I want to tell you that he consulted everybody that he could to try to get the answer of, yeah, you can do that. But like everybody, even up to Bob Dole. Bob Dole apparently told this motherfucker that, no, that's stupid. You can't fucking do that. I don't know if Bob Dole dropped an F-bomb. I wouldn't put it fucking past him. He did dick commercials, didn't he? Bob Dole did dick commercials back in the 90s, I want to say. Maybe it was the early 2000s.
About my authority that day, and he's still wrong. I believe it with all my heart. Now, that being said, I am encouraged by the fact that states around the country have been passing changes in election laws at the state level that are protecting the integrity of the vote. I frankly think we ought to have voter ID in every state in this country.
I frankly think that we should have mail-in voting in every state in this country.
By God's grace that I did my duty that day. I do. No second guessing. I really think that this election has got to be about the future. If we spend the next election talking about the past, you're going to get 4 more years of Democrats in the White House. Our candidates that spent the 22 midterm elections talking about relitigating the last election lost, and they lost in places that we should have won. So I promise you, I'm going to stand on what I did. I'm going to stand on the Constitution, and any job I ever have in the future, I promise you, I'll keep my oath even when it hurts, like it says in Psalm 15. That's the job that you have. You raise your right hand and you promise to support and defend.
God, this guy's so boring.
States. I believe we did that.
Vince might have been showing his ass. And just the whole Mike Pence shit upstaged him. While we're on the topic of presidential politics, let's talk about a Democratic candidate. I hate this too because well, DJ, you like the woman was a little feisty with him. I'm surprised she wasn't more feisty after he gave his answer. Marianne Williamson's entire South Carolina team quits in latest campaign upheaval. I hate this because we do not have a strong Democratic challenger. And there was a piece in The Nation, I didn't put it on the list. And like, they're right. Cornel West should have ran as a Democrat. There isn't a strong contingent in the Democratic. There's nobody for me to support in the Democratic primary. And I wanted a strong candidate. Right after 2020, I said we should all coalesce around Katie Porter. Fortunately, she's running for Senate. I thought we needed to get our shit together and have a strong progressive challenger. And we've got fucking RFK Jr. doing goddamn push-ups. A recent round of firings and resignations has hit the already bruised Marianne Williamson's presidential campaign. Sources tell Politico that 3 people, the campaign's entire South Carolina team, has resigned. The campaign also fired 2 national field directors and a member of Williamson's New Hampshire team. Newly minted campaign manager Carlos Cardona is restructuring the campaign to be cash efficient. This is not a good sign for her this early in the campaign. Also incredibly nimble on the ground in key primary states, but others say the departures were linked to a meeting where Williamson, who was seeking the Democratic Party's presidential nomination, was confronted by staff about her campaign priorities. The staffers said they were concerned that too much attention was being placed on social media, not enough on getting Williamson's name on the ballot beyond New Hampshire and South Carolina. The staffers were like, we're here to run a campaign. You're running a grift, aren't you? You just want to be in those early debates. During that meeting, there was just a vibe that she felt attacked and an insinuation at the end of the call that some staff were not going to make it to the end of the week. She didn't listen to anything we said, clearly because the people who expressed frustration were fired. She's running a grift, and I hate that because she's probably the one that's closest to my politics. So we're just gonna make fun of everybody, guys. If you live in a battleground state, I will tell you, I think you should vote for Joe Biden. Other than that, do whatever your heart tells you. Do whatever write-in, whatever third party. I don't give a shit. And please, as we get up to 2024, don't anybody get mad and get upset and hate somebody because of who they're voting for president. You want to vote for Cornel West? That's totally cool. I would urge you that if you live in a state where it matters, to consider voting for Biden. That it was insanely close in the battleground states of Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. Now Michigan's been pretty blue. Now what was Wisconsin, Pennsylvania? What was the other state? Arizona, Georgia. If you were in one of those 4 states, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Georgia, Wisconsin, you should probably consider voting for Biden. And just how it be. Josh Hawley tweets fake founding and it's not voting is strategic. It's not a vote for Joe Biden, it's a vote against dumb fuck Republicans. Joe Biden's far, but we'd rather be making fun of Joe Biden for his stupid shit, making fun of how awful it is with right wingers. Alright, I'm off my soapbox. Josh Hawley tweets fake founding, but also Cornel West would be a damn fine fucking president. That was the nation's piece. He would be a fantastic president, a historic president. So it's a shame that he has resigned himself to the fringes. He's running a campaign issue though, like an issues campaign, a campaign issues. So I don't know. There's debate about whether it's more potent in the general, when more eyes are on it. if he's on the campaign, if he's on the debate stage with Biden and Trump, that would be cool. I kind of doubt that would happen. It's possible with the Green Party. It's possible. Ballot access is the key. And clearly, Marianne Williamson wasn't focused on that. So, why her staff quit. Josh Hawley tweets fake founding father quote claiming that the U.S. was founded on Christianity. As I said, Josh Hawley is not a dumb man. Did he know what he was doing? Missouri Senator's tweet sees community note attached noting false attribution. Joey, you don't think he's going to be on the debate stage? You don't think he's going to make it to the general? Or you don't think that he's going to participate? I'm interested. Senator Josh Hawley drew criticism from historians and teachers of U.S. government over the July 4th holiday after he posted a tweet incorrectly ascribed to Patrick Henry, which asserted that America was founded as a specifically Christian nation. Founders' quotes are actually the opposite. They say, in no way were we founded as a Christian nation. Aside from the fact that the Constitution explicitly lays out that America will never have an official state religion, Mr. Hawley's message falsely attributed a quote from a biography of Henry, one of America's founding fathers, to the man himself. Twitter, which continues to sink further into a mess of disinformation and bot spam under the ownership of Elon Musk. By the way, you can find me on Threads at JustinFREAKIN, just like everything else. Rectified the situation by and still I haven't got my Blue Sky invite yet, but when I do, I'll let you know. If anybody's got an invite for me, please send it along. My freaking address at gmail.com. And bot spam under the ownership of Elon Musk rectified the situation by slapping a short community note under the tweet. Patrick Henry never said that. This is a line from a 1956 piece in the Virginian that was about Patrick Henry, not by him. Incorrect assertion was picked up by many rank-and-file posters on the platform, including many with actual expertise in the realm of U.S. colonial history. It also drew in Mr. Hawley's longtime critics on the left, who despised the senator for his now infamous show of support to crowds in the U.S. Capitol, just hours before those same crowds would turn into a riot and attack the Capitol. Many who responded to the senator in the replies dubbed him an insurrectionist. A few even posted a widely shared clip of him fleeing from protesters through the halls of the U.S. Capitol. The Independent reached out for Mr. Hawley's office regarding it. Apparently, they did not get a comment. I don't know that Trump can resist that because, like, debates get like 80, 90 million people watching. Trump don't say no to that kind of shit. More people would see Trump at a debate than any other fucking time. I don't think he turned that down. 2020 was special. Freedom Caucus member. Do I still have the picture? Do I still have the Freedom Caucus picture? God, I hope I do. Guess I need that to be a drop now, don't I? I never can find anything. Why do I try to find shit while I'm I'm going to try to get back to posting content, posting clips and shit on YouTube. They've been trickling. Oh, there it is. The Freedom Cock. The Freedom Cock. We're going to have to, like, start selling the Freedom Cock on the website. Big red, white, and blue dildo. The Freedom Cock. A Freedom Cock member says Marjorie Taylor Greene has been expelled from the group. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene is no longer enough of a hardline right-wing lawmaker for the House Freedom Cock. Freedom Cock Representative Andy Harris. This is weird because she was just with Trump. Tells Politico reporter Olivia Beavers that it's his understanding that Greene is no longer a member of the Cock after it took a secret vote on her expulsion last month. They kicked her out. Beavers says that Harris also called it an appropriate action and cited her debt deal vote, support of McCarthy, and criticism of other HFC Republicans. Oh, Freedom Cock Republicans. The expulsion of Greene from the Freedom Cock marks quite the falling out for the Trump-loving Georgia Republican. Greene has been feuding more with her fellow right-wing Republicans lately over her backing of McCarthy, who has returned the favor by restoring Greene to her committee assignments she lost when the previous Democratic-led Congress voted to remove her from all House committees. Freedom Cock. You are seeing the Freedom Cock in real life. Yes, we're going to have to start selling the Freedom Cock. Man who looks like he has a giant Freedom Cock up his ass is Mark Levin. Ah, fuck, it's Mediaite. I'm going to have to go through all this bullshit. We have to start ripping their videos. That way I can just play them. Mark Levin wrote a book. And then Target decided they didn't want to sell Mark Levin's book. You know, these are the same motherfuckers that bullied Target into pulling down pride displays in many locations. But then when Target's like, no, we don't want to sell your book, they throw an absolute hissy fit. So you are going to hear Mark Levin on his show throw a fit over retailer Target not wanting to sell his stupid ass book. He's got a gazillion of them. He's like the was it James Patterson, John Grisham or whatever the fuck. They've got all kinds of ghostwriters and they just turn out stupid books and they put their names on it in order to sell it. It's all a grift. It's all a grift.
Now, Target has told Simon & Schuster, my publisher, Threshold Books, that when the book comes out in September, it will not carry the book. It told them, quote, the title is polarizing, and Target wants to be sensitive to all their guests. But they will make it available at Target.com. The title is polarizing. Now, as I seem to recall, Target does a lot of polarizing stuff with clothing, with hiring, with customers.
What?
With colors, with flags.
With colors and flags.
They're all into this ESG movement. But because I take on the opposite party, that's polarizing to the point where Target does not want its customers to have an option to purchase the book. Now, there are leftists going online saying, see this? You don't believe in a capitalist. Well, Target can do it at once. What are you talking about? What are you fools talking about?
What? You seem upset.
I'm not demanding that Target carry the book. I'm informing 14.5 million listeners that this company is 100% woke, 100% in the tank for the left and the Democrat Party. Barnes & Noble's going to carry the book. Books A Million's going to carry the book. Walmart's going to carry the book, and a lot of them.
Fuck all them. And a lot of them.
Happens down the road if they're boycotted or whatever.
Who the fuck is out here reading Mark Levin books? God, he's boring the shit out of me just listening to him for two minutes. Mark Levin announced Wednesday that retail giant Target. No, we know that. It's called the Democrat Party Hates America. The Democrat Party hates America. And it like, goddamn, I wish I didn't have ethics. I could write a book that's like, the fucking Democrat Party hates America. Poo poo pee pee Democrats, blah, 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 blah. And right wingers just eat that shit up. Oh, he's a right wing radio host. He's on like a gazillion talk radio stations. I actually fucking, one of the head shops in the town I went to college in. I would go in, they'd be listening to Mark Levin at like, I think he came on at noon or 3. I don't exactly remember. They'd be listening to him. And I'm like, I can't believe you guys are listening to Mark Levin. Holy shit. Like, in a head shop. This fucking tool. You know what they're boycotting now? And I can't. In one of the political groups I'm in, they told me that Ben & Jerry's had lost $2 billion in the last 2 days. And I'm like, there's no fucking way. That can't possibly be true. Right-wingers boycotting Ben & Jerry's would do absolutely nothing to their bottom line. Because there are no right-wingers that are eating Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Even in the story about Ben & Jerry's, they're talking about the fucking cocaine. We can't even get away from it. When I want to hear them bitch about fucking Ben & Jerry's, they're still bitching about the cocaine. Holy shit, Fox News.
Come on, man.
Nice smile. President Biden ignoring questions about the cocaine found at the White House. Apparently he thinks it's humorous. As the Secret Service orders...
It is! It's hilarious!
How it got there in the first place. Here to react, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem about that and more. Governor, when we saw the crossdresser take off his or her top on the White House grounds, I thought that was low. But this
also legal in D.C.
And how important is it to find out whose it is?
Free to titties.
Well, we deserve the truth. This is the people's house. It is something that the people in this country pay for and maintain and expect dignity and respect there. So we need to know how it got there, make sure that the White House and those involved are telling us the truth so we can ensure that it doesn't happen again. My biggest concern is if you're allowed to bring in cocaine into the White House, what else is being brought in? What else is slipping through the cracks, and how much of a danger is that to this country?
Right, and also...
He has those soulless eyes.
There, and his son's been there and through all these trials and tribulations of his legal situation.
Oh, yeah, it was a trans influencer.
Not ruled out running. But look,
she just called a cross-dresser.
Candidates, even I see Democrats
casual bigotry.
Admitting that. But yet the president's lead is strong. Do you think it's because of his team and his message, or do you think the field is underachieving?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily because of his team. I think it's because of him. I think he's a fighter. And every day Americans get up and they're shocked by what they see happening in the United States of America. And they recognize that when President Trump was in office, that they were safer, that their national security concerns were not at the level that they are today, that they...
He just said they were safer when Trump was in office. How many people died? 3 million? Or was the 3 million for like, does that count like all the waves during Biden's administration as well? But at least 1 million died during his presidency. They're safer.
They had more money in their pocket. Food didn't cost so much. Gas didn't cost so much. And they're thinking, wow, I'd do anything to get that back again. And this president doesn't give up. I think that's what's incredible about President Trump is he is a fighter. So we've got great people running. I'm not going to say that some of these candidates don't have a lot of opportunities here. But with President Trump in that race and us needing someone who will really go to the mat for the American people, I don't see how they get the traction to come out on top.
35 million he's...
And let me blow your mind. Republican presidential primary debate is next month. The first Republican presidential primary debate is next month. It's coming up on us. I've been telling you guys. It's like it's right around the fucking corner. Even though it's not, even though at this time next year, we'll just be kicking it into general election time. Oh, it's absurd. You should not use Fox News for any, like, Fox News makes you dumber. Now, PB girl, you might not have been here when I told this story. I had a right-winger one time, and they had a blog or something, and it said, like, you know, watching MSNBC and CNN makes you dumber. And I was like, because, like, they presented that to me. I was like, you know, that's funny that you presented that study to me. But what your source left out was that in that study, it was all cable news, and Fox News made you the dumbest, and people who watched PBS, listened to NPR, and The Daily Show were the most informed. Like, you left that part off that's kind of important. So it was weird that this dude cited that to me. It was like, CNN and MSNBC makes you dumber. And I'm like, motherfucker. There's more to that than just what you're showing me. Yes, please turn off cable news.
Put up in the last quarter, raising it's extremely high number. Do you think the word is DeSantis will get close to that? Do you think if there's anyone to emerge out of the field, it would be him?
You know, I've run probably 11 campaigns now, Brian, and what mattered to me was the small donors, the people who cared enough to send you $5, $10. President Trump has millions of small donors that invest in him. They maybe aren't rich people, they aren't big donors, but they go out there and they use their hard-earned money to get a leader elected. I don't think any of the other candidates have that kind of commitment from the people that invest in them. They have big donors that write them big checks. I think that is power.
Watching only Fox News makes you less informed than watching no news at all. Media outlets such as Fox News and MSNBC have a negative impact on people's current event knowledge, while NPR and Sunday morning political talk shows are the most informative sources of news, according to a Farley Dickinson University's Public Mind survey. Someone who watched only Fox News would be expected to answer 1.04 domestic questions correctly, compared to 1.22 for those who watch watched no news at all. Those watching only The Daily Show with Jon Stewart answered 1.42 questions correctly. So most informed, NPR, Sunday Show, Daily Show. Talk radio next, and that surprises me that people listening to talk radio. Because this is 2012, there was not fucking liberal ass podcasts back then. Talk radio was still dominated by conservatives. So there you go. And other studies have been done that actually confirm that. But it's kind of obvious just watching this shit. We didn't even get her. You get her talking about Ben and Jerry.
Powerful, but those small donors that President Trump has really sends another message as well.
I was ready to move on.
The other big story you can really relate to, it's around Mount Rushmore. Ben and Jerry's is saying it's time for us to return places like Mount Rushmore back to Native Americans. Quote, we need to...
I like to call it six grandfathers. which was what it was before we desecrated it. I don't like the fact that no news agency points out the horrific nature of what Mount Rushmore is. It is a monument to white supremacy. It is a thing that we did specifically to the native people on a sacred site of theirs. And it's disgusting. And like they act like it's like, oh, Richard, that study was from 2012. That study was from before Jon Stewart left. I don't think people watch The Daily Show anymore. I quit watching it since then. Nothing against Trevor Noah.
Start with Mount Rushmore. The faces on Mount Rushmore are the face of men who actively work to destroy indigenous cultures and ways of life and deny indigenous people their basic rights.
Yes.
I know you get up in the morning and think, what would Ben and Jerry do? And having said that, do you think it's time for us to return Mount Rushmore?
No. Listen,
Long
two
pass.
things to be clear about today. I love ice cream. So in my family, we bought it by the 5-gallon buckets. That's how much we ate ice cream every night before we went to bed. Number two, I'm not going to listen to a bunch of liberal Vermont businessmen who think they know everything about this country and haven't studied our history. Right now, Mount Rushmore is the greatest symbol of our freedom and history of the United States of America. We can learn from the men on that mountain. We can do better. But boy, they led us through some challenging times. And I think Americans in this country need some inspiration, and we can gain it from a monument like that. We should be proud of America and knock off what...
Also, it's fucking ugly. Have you ever seen it? Like, they always show that shot. But when you see, like, a further out shot, it's ugly. It's just goddamn, like, it's a blight on the land. It's hard to find a fucking picture that's far away on it. That's not pretty. That's a blight on the scenery. It's insane that we did that. Here's another one. That's not visually appealing. And that's why it's always photographed close in like that.
I think Americans in this country need some inspiration, and we can gain it from a monument like that. We should be proud of America and knock off what Ben and Jerry's is doing. They don't have any idea what they're doing.
Yeah, they take advantage of this country, the free enterprise and the freedom, and then they criticize it like so many. Now, you have a goal. By 2024, at least, 4th of July, fireworks. This administration is denying it. When Trump was in office, you were there with the president. How important would it be for you to get this going again?
Oh, it's critical. So tourism is our second largest industry in South Dakota. Millions of people come and visit us every year. So to be able to host fireworks at Mount Rushmore is not just a symbol of our freedom, but it's something that...
It said the administration banned their fireworks. I don't know.
It encourages people to
Didn't know
come
that
and
was a
spend some
thing.
time with our people in our state that are so wonderful. And listen, we had these fireworks for many, many years until President Obama took them away. President Trump gave them back, and as soon as Biden came into the White House, the very first day he said no more fireworks at our symbol of freedom. So we'll keep fighting them. They're breaking federal law by not allowing us to have this fireworks show. So I'm going to keep fighting them through law. I'm going to keep fighting them in the courts until we have them respect the laws and allow us this opportunity to celebrate independence.
Yeah, it's all about you being a Republican. You did the environmental impact studies, said no problem, and they still have a problem. Governor, always great to see you. Congratulations on the success of your recruiting program, and we watch your spots all over the channel. You're getting a lot of people applying. Soon you're going to have...
So it was the National Park Service that denied her request. After careful consideration, the NPS has determined that we were unable to grant your request for this permit to hold a special event for the fireworks and has been denied. MPS has determined that multiple such criteria are present for the request event, each which would be sufficient to deny the request for a permit based on the information provided. Fireworks continue to be viewed by multiple tribes as an adverse effect on the traditional cultural landscape. There you go. They were also citing cause, injury, and damage to park resources. They analyzed the impact of the fireworks in the 2020 event. Unreasonably interfere with interruptive visitor service or other programming activities. Substantially impair the operation of public use facilities or services the National Park Service, concessioners, or contractors. And it results in a significant conflict with the tribe thing is the most important to me, but apparently they're saying it also damages the national park. It looks like a bad Photoshop indeed. So we mentioned Ben and Jerry. Ben got himself arrested today, apparently. Ben and Jerry's co-founder arrested for blocking the Justice Department's entrance. He wanted that cocaine. Ben and Jerry's co-founder, Ben Cohen, was arrested on Thursday for blocking the entrance to the Department of Justice during a protest of the U.S. government's prosecution of WikiLeaks publisher Julian Assange. Cohen asked to enter the building, and when denied by security guards, he sat on the steps alongside the co-founder of social justice charity Code Pink until police handcuffed them both. In a tweet the day before, Cohen had indicated he intended to risk arrest to protest the criminalization of free press and the prosecution of Assange. Assange faces 18 charges. Has he gone crazy yet? Have they extradited him yet? What the fuck is going on? Assange faces 18 charges from the DOJ related to the 2010 release of 500,000 classified U.S. government documents about the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. During the demonstration, Cohen described the prosecution as outrageous. Ben & Jerry's caused a stir earlier this week by celebrating July 4th with a tweet calling for stolen land in the U.S. to be returned to indigenous owners. Oh, do we have video?
Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange!
Ma'am, can I get you a stand up, please?
Free Julian Assange!
Well, can you get her?
So the thing about Julian Assange,
Grab this guy. Grab this guy, put him in the cuffs. Where's your cuffs?
he helped publish a lot about our torture programs, our drone programs. We got a lot of really good information early on out of WikiLeaks. And for that, he should be commended. He is a hero for that. He got his fifis hurt,
Well, this officer going to be taking you that way.
rightfully so, with his treatment by the U.S. government. And he aided Trump in the 2016 election with the leaking of Hillary Clinton's emails in the hopes that the Trump administration would pardon him. But the dumb fuck didn't realize it's Trump. And Trump pursued the prosecution. The WikiLeaks exposed the extent of our torture, of our drone program. We found out about numerous drone strikes that killed civilians, including doctors. I think a Doctors Without Borders
For the future, we must.
encampment was bombed
We can't let these warmongers just go.
and covered up by the U.S. government.
Got her?
And exposing that was fantastic. But then the whole trying to work with Trump.
For justice.
And that's why I have mixed feelings about Assange.
The United States is doing to him. It's torture. It's an international.
I think Edward Snowden is a hero. I think Reality Winner is a hero. I think Chelsea Manning is a hero. God, I always space on her name. I just always see Grimes. She's dating Grimes now. Chelsea Manning is a fucking hero. Julian Assange, on the other, I think he's an opportunist, and I think he's kind of a snake. But he deserves the credit for... He does not deserve the prosecution. He does not deserve to be prosecuted, and the Justice Department pursuing his prosecution is a threat to free press. Julian Assange himself is probably a dumb fuck. I'm trying to just call it like I sees it. I think I could be. I think that was about as fair as anyone could describe the situation. I hope. Ben, not the only person going to jail. Greta Thunberg faces jail over a charge of disobeying police at climate protests. The activist was given a court date. Greta Thunberg kicking authority in the balls.
He's kicking authority in the balls.
He's kicking authority in the balls. A 20-year-old environmental campaigner known for spearheading a global youth movement on climate change, arrested in June after she refused to leave a protest in Sweden. We watched the video of that. Activists were blocking, and the cops were being pretty cool to her as well, because like they know that while she was there. Activists were blocking oil tankers in the city's port on June 19th, but Ms. Thunberg refused to comply with the police orders to leave the scene. Ms. Thunberg joined group Ta Tilbaka from Tidden. Reclaim the Future is what that translates to. For a 6-day demonstration made up of about 20 others. The group said the demonstrations was a peaceful resistance to the fossil fuel industry. Reports claim that those at the protest climbed on top of the oil tankers as well as blockading them. It didn't actually say. Apparently she's facing 6 months. But it doesn't say that in this story. I saw that in a different story. But what they do highlight in this story that I would like to point out is that apparently on Tuesday, on July 4th, the world experienced its hottest day ever. July 4th was the hottest day on record. Climate change is fucking real. I'm really tired of arguing with right-wingers. This was the heat wave of June 1976. This was the change in temperature of the heat wave of June 1976 compared the anomaly of 1976 versus the data from 1951 1980. So this is how much of an anomaly 1976 was. It was a heat wave year. This is that same data plotted with June 2022 versus 1950 to 1980. That's fucking scary. And there are still motherfuckers that don't think climate change is real. Fucking absurd. Just like, who the fuck slapped Britney Spears? I'm appalled to find out that some sporty ball player is security guard slapped Britney. It's Britney, bitch.
What happened last night?
What happened last night is I saw the news obviously this morning. I woke up to a couple of phone calls, and there was something did happen a little bit when I was walking with some security of the team to some restaurant. We were in a hall. There was a lot of people, so people calling me obviously, and there was one person who was calling me, but we talked before with the security, don't stop because it's gonna make a crowd. So I couldn't stop. So that person was calling me, sir, and that person grabbed me from behind. So I didn't see what happened because I was walking straight and we told don't stop. But that person grabbed me from behind, not on my shoulder. She grabbed me from behind, and so I just know that the security pushed her away. I don't know with how much force though, but security pushed her away. And I didn't stop to look, so I kept walking and enjoyed a nice dinner. That was fun, really, guys.
Britney Spears was trying to get your attention.
That one person that grabbed you from behind, you think was Britney Spears?
So actually, I didn't know for a couple hours, but when I came back to the hotel, I had forgotten about this event, but I didn't forget about it, but I thought it was no big deal. And the security of this person told me it was Britney Spears. So I was like, no, you're joking, but yeah, it turns out it was Britney Spears. But I didn't know because I didn't see her. I never saw her face. I just kept walking straight, and that's it.
And so if you don't know what happened, Britney Spears was allegedly slapped in Vegas by Victor Wembanyama's security, who backhanded her in the face after she tapped the NBA player on the back for a photo, and now she has reportedly filed a police report for battery, and an investigation is pending. Obviously, they're in Vegas for the Summer League. He debuts tomorrow, and the top comment on this Twitter post is, "Hit me, Wemby, one more time." I hate this app.
You got two sporty ball stories in back-to-back nights from me. That rarely fucking happens. We did baseball last night. We got the basketball tonight. Leave Britney alone. yeah, that's perfect. What do you guys think about licking pussy? Who here likes to lick pussy? Would you like to see some beefy dudes
sexual anarchy
lick some pussy? all came over and got in on it. Go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I'm Justin Freakin. We'll see you Sunday night on the Troll Patrol.